doing this is live because that ends up in the beginning of each one.
Oh, because it's recording. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
just letting each other know that it's live. Can't you just cut that at the beginning?
Yeah, but it usually intertwines with what we say. But yeah. Okay. Anyway, welcome to number 27 of From the Ground Up podcast, the official intro.
Official intro.
The first intro.
Okay. Number 27 today. Actually did it on time. Back to Tuesdays at 6 o'clock.
Oh, what did we do? We did last week. It was different.
Last week was Thursday, I think. No. I don't know. Maybe it was 5 o'clock. We did last week Tuesday at 5 o'clock. But this week we're back to the normal 6 o'clock.
Yeah. We may have to turn this fan off. I can kind of hear the noise.
I can't hear it. I think you can just hear the fan normal. I don't hear it in the things.
I don't know, man.
Whatever. Keep talking. Okay. What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? We have eggs that are on day 78 for whatever reason.
Just so annoying. Everyone else in the world, their eggs are hatching. Everyone's pipping. It's coming out. And we have nothing.
Right. And like I said before, I mean, I've had eggs that the colubered eggs have been, totally plump all the way through, like full and still hatched. But I do have one that is like dimpled, and I thought that maybe that one would come out first. And I've been checking it the last like 4 or 5 days and nothing. So
okay, so when I checked them either last night or this morning, I don't know, last night or yesterday morning, I don't remember. I was looking at them and there was some like little dark black, not like grayish black spots on some of them. What does that mean on the eggs?
Honestly, it's not like mold, but it's been there forever.
Okay. I didn't notice it till yesterday.
It's like probably like old blood or something. Who knows?
I didn't know if it was some of the whatever the sac or the juices.
Yeah.
Since showing through, I wasn't sure. Okay.
No, I don't know why these particular eggs look like that, but they're not bad.
Okay.
I know that.
Because I mean, they're still the same color they were originally. Yeah. All that stuff is still the same.
I've been so debating just
opening
a slit in that
just
one,
opening
but I'm not going to. When you're incubating at only like 75, then I mean it can take up to 100 days. So
really, can take up to 100.
This isn't super crazy.
We're at 78
isn't that bad?
It just
but
feels
then again,
like
I'm at the point where I'm checking them constantly because I'm like, it's got to be happening soon.
Right. And I've noticed a lot on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. People put a little black line on their eggs. Just a short little black line. And I was wondering what that black line means.
So a lot of breeders some breeders like to mark the top of their eggs just in case they roll around in incubation for some reason.
But wouldn't you when you put them, you're not touching them after once you place them, in that substrate, you're not touching them. So they shouldn't.
Right. But you still may have to move the box for whatever reason or they get knocked over or anything.
Just
happens.
Anything.
And it's just something I don't do because, and I mean, this clutch was all stuck together, which is really cool. So as long as it stays together and you can close whatever you're putting the eggs in, then you're fine. Because I mean, if one flips upside down, you would know because we have 20 eggs that are solidly together. I wouldn't be able to get them apart if I tried without ripping the eggs.
So if your clutch comes out all stuck together, is there a greater chance for health? Like, does that correlate to anything once the babies are born?
Stuck together?
Like, does it mean like it's good?
Oh yeah, Evan said
no beer. We forgot. I have water.
Yeah,
we forgot to go get it.
One with
we forgot to go get it at the grocery store. But okay, answer my question. If the eggs come out stuck together, does that mean something good for the baby? Like, does it? Yeah,
that means that nature probably did its thing, and there were probably no slugs if they're all stuck together.
Okay. Also, this sounds crazy, but okay, the little hole it comes out of, that corn snake is so small. The little hole, how do they all?
Well, they're all lined up in there. They're not all coming out. So they go one at a time.
So it's just when she drops them, They just fall on each other.
She's gonna coil them inside of her body and lay them pretty much in that beehive structure.
Okay.
In between. So
if they are coiled up when they're laying them, what makes them not what would make them not stick together? You know, she has them all round up so that they do kind of form that beehive. What?
It's usually not perfect. So just like anything else in nature, it's not perfect. So she may not coil around the eggs, or
she may like uncoil and then drop another one.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's not always perfect. I mean, just like anything else in nature, you're going to overcompensate. So there's going to be a lot more eggs than they expect, obviously, to survive in the wild, just to make sure that, you know, there's eggs surviving out there.
So if
babies, rather,
they are stuck together, it's a greater chance of having no slugs.
Yeah, well, no, that's kind of because if you have a slug, it's already a slug at that point. It's a slug the whole way through. I mean,
it's a slug in the body
fertilized.
too. It was never okay. Right. Okay. So it really doesn't mean anything to have them stuck together.
But a slug, for whatever reason, just the quality of the skin. Like if you've ever felt a slug, it's a little, it's more rubbery instead of leathery. So for whatever reason, that does not stick to the clutch, which is probably good because when you have
already
a slug,
separated.
If you have a slug next to the healthy eggs, it will usually spread mold and all types of bad stuff and make other eggs go bad. So if you do have a slug, if there was ever a slug stuck on there, then you have to take it off and separate it from the egg. I wouldn't even, some people are like, good. I mean, I would candle it, make sure so that you don't have an egg that is bad, you know, in with normal healthy eggs.
So it's more likely for slugs to grow mold than healthy eggs.
Well, yeah, they're dead, so it's just going to rot just like normal. Instead of like, do living people mold more than dead people?
Okay, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, someone just asked us a question on YouTube, but it is not in English, and I don't know what he's saying. Compare. I don't know what that means. I wish there was a way. If anyone's on YouTube and knows how to speak,
don't worry about it. Hey, everyone on YouTube, and hey, Evan on Instagram. And if you haven't seen us before on Instagram, if you go to our YouTube channel, that's what's actually connected to the microphones if you can't hear anything.
Yes.
We should let people know that. But
Lily Pad with her first great question of the day. She said, if a snake has mites and it sheds, won't all the mites come off with the shed?
Ideally, but then again, you still have a snake with a mite-filled shed next to the shed, so the mites are just going to go onto the snake right after.
They're going to go right back on. Right. So they're in, unless you like literally watch the shed come off and take it out.
You wouldn't be able.
You still wouldn't be able to get them.
Yeah, no matter what, you got to keep on going in the process. So
of treating.
If no one's ever had mites before, this is how I would do it. And I mean, for different species, you may have different ways to go about it. But what I would do is the first thing I do is take out the snake that has mites, put them in water, and I let them soak and, you know, try to submerge as much of their body in water because the mites can't swim.
So it kills them. It's kind of.
You hope if you do it long enough, but there still could be eggs on them and stuff like that. Or if their head's above water, you may have mites that travel up to the head of the snake or just really deeply recessed into the scales. So that's just a cautionary, like, first thing you do. And then what you do is take the tub or the whole rack, really. At the end of the day, you have to take out all the animals out of the rack.
Just because it could have spread.
Down. Yeah. But you don't want to do that after you just touch the one that has mites
because it could be on your hands.
Right. So you got to be cognizant of a bunch of things.
You got to be real careful.
Right. You got to be like a doctor and wash
up. Just like washing after every step, wash your hands.
And then, so what you want to do is take out the substrate, everything.
Dump it all.
Wash the tub and then put it back in the rack and spray that with prevenamite, kind of cloud it up a lot. It's going to be like a spray that leaves kind of a misty cloud behind. when you spray it in a like closed location. So I like to spray it and make it until it's basically a cloud of terrible chemicals that you and then just put the rack back in, like put the tub back in the rack.
And
so
those
you're
chemicals
treat
won't
the top
affect
and the bottom.
the snakes and other racks nearby. Like it won't travel in the air. And
for the most part, I'd be doing this either at the same time, or it won't really if you do it so it's centralized. So you're putting it in the tub, closing the tub.
But there's still air. You know, it's not like
it's
not like the tub is.
But the fact is, you're still going to have those chemicals, those particles
in the air a little bit, but not a much.
You're going to put them in the tub, so that's just as bad. So,
okay. And so at this time, while you're spraying that stuff, where are all your snakes?
You're soaking the snakes.
You're soaking. Okay. At this
not
time,
together, everyone
all
separate,
individually.
All the time. So and then you put them in, and when you wash that tub the first time, you also want to wash the top of the rack.
Oh, okay, because the mites could have gone there
go
too.
In there. You want to really wash every single part of the rack, and then
okay,
and then do that.
How long do you leave
times.
that? How long do you leave that spray on there before you put the snakes back
Once
in?
You see that mist is gone, pretty much.
Okay, you can.
And then you can let it air out for a little while. Then put your substrate back down and do it over again. There's also you could put oil on the snake, like olive oil, or they sell a specific mite oil type thing, but all it is like an olive oil. Okay. Yeah, because they can't breathe through the oil, so
it traps
if you put
them.
the oil in the snake or on the snake, they'll suffocate or drown. So I don't personally do that. Once I do that, the cleaning and the prevenamite, 1 or 2, even 3 cycles around every few days, they're usually gone.
So when you do that prevenamite again, you're soaking them again every 3 days. You're doing okay.
Yeah, you're just repeating the process. But I think the most important part is being cognizant and catching it early so it doesn't spread to everything. Okay,
can you actually see the little mites?
They're gonna be the size of a pin.
So small.
Out your snake, you may see crawling up your hand. Kind of the best. Sometimes you can see them on the snake, obviously depending on what snake it is. If you have a black snake, it's going to be really hard, but if you are holding them, then you're going to be able to see it on your hand.
Crawling. Okay. And they don't do anything to people, right?
No, they don't even really do anything to reptiles really, really out of hand. It has to get to a point where it compromises the snake's immune system, and
it
becomes parasitic. It would be how long would it take it for a dog to be killed by fleas? I don't know. Maybe.
Right, you don't want fleas, but they're not the worst in the beginning. But you still want
you don't
to
have to worry for
early.
The snake's health, but for your life to be a hell of a lot easier, you want to take care of it as soon as possible.
But there's no preventive thing you can put on the snakes or in the substrate like for fleas for dogs. There's no You
can treat with prevenamite, but honestly, you want to do it. So you got to take it when it comes.
So you don't want to use the prevenamite till you are seeing the mites.
I mean, you can. Some people do it when they get a new snake in. They'll put them through the treatment, do the prevenamite, do all that. So
you already quarantined. Yeah, let's say, aren't you already quarantining? Quarantining? Is that a word? Quarantining a new snake? You wouldn't, hopefully have to go through. I was doing that. Evan said mites suck the blood so they can kill a snake. Oh, so they start sucking kind of like fleas? Don't fleas?
Fleas do that. Well, they bite. In order for a snake to die from mites, though, it would take
a long time.
So
he said more like ticks than fleas. Okay, so that makes sense. But it's still, even though it would take a long time for it to actually hurt the snake, it's still something you want to take care of in the beginning.
It's a series of wounds,
open things you don't want for the snake.
Yeah, not really, but you don't want foreign things biting your snake. But
and what I think we've talked about this before, but quickly, what causes mites?
Nothing really causes them; they just occur.
They just happen. So then
Yeah.
I feel like some breeders get bad reputations for mites. If it just like if
Well, you get a bad.
Or is it a bad
You get a
reputation
bad
for selling
reputation
it?
for selling a
Okay,
snake with
that's what
mites.
it is.
Everyone's had mites. Everyone, had an experience with mites, no matter
It just
what.
happens,
It's
but it's
really
selling it.
just something that happens for everyone. So, I mean,
Evan brought up the specific person I was talking about. I wasn't going to say
you have to treat it as it comes, and also be cognizant of the snakes that you're selling. In order for a baby to have mites that you're selling, you have to have a collection that has mites somewhere.
And it's been right. Babies just aren't born and get it immediately. It has to be given.
Right. It has to be in the
else.
environment, or else they just don't. I don't know.
But more likely,
someone else had it first.
With the bad reputation of selling snakes with mites, that's more likely going to be on animals on adults than babies. Correct? Because it's more likely
for the most
adults.
part. But if you have a collection that's kept all in one room, they could transfer from your adults to your babies.
Okay, very easily.
Yeah.
Okay, it just depends on you.
It's just about
being cognizant.
Yeah,
cognizant.
Just paying attention to the animals, and certainly checking your animals down before you sell them. So basically, just giving a generalized look over your animals before you send them off, or before you put them on the table at a show, and then also keep in mind that reptile shows are filled with reptiles from all over the place. There's fucking 3 scumbags, and there's maybe 25 good people, but those scumbags may bring in mites, and then someone holds a snake at scumbag A's table and then goes to good guy B and gives them mites. So it's an open environment. Anything could happen when you go to a show. That's why some people treat for mites when they come back from shows, or
just a preventative thing from after shows. That makes sense.
And then, there's nicer shows than others, so
so you're less likely to get it from others.
Right.
A little bit different topic, but that made me think of it. Just as far as a snake getting sick or anything, do you feel like when selling a snake, you should tell the buyer if you've had to bring the snake to the vet for whatever reason? Do you think you should provide that information?
If there's a reason why you had to take the snake to the vet that early in the game, that's not a very good sign.
But if you're selling an adult,
if you're selling an adult,
like say, how your green tree prolapse before,
right.
If you
especially that,
if you sold you would tell them.
Yeah, be like, there's an animal that prolapsed before, even though that may or may not be information that's pertinent.
It's still something
good to just be a decent person.
But is that an industry standard thing to share that vet record?
It should be, but maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Who knows? Because the people who had those problems didn't tell.
Yeah. Right? Like, you don't know.
And then how do you know that a snake had an RI before or didn't have an RI before?
Would you share that if your snake had an RI and you sold it? Would you share that information with the buyer? Okay. Any ailment?
Because there are snakes that have gotten RIs, and then also have gotten them over and over again. So it seems like some snakes are more susceptible, maybe after they got one, or something like, I know Eric from Morelia Python Radio, he had a snake, poison ivy, and I think she kind of had a tendency to get RIs, I believe.
Okay.
I'm not 100% straight on the story, but I believe she had RIs before, and then she also passed away. I believe it was during like laying eggs or something, but that animal had a history of RIs and seemed more susceptible and got RIs. And it may be us treating them with, which is, knocking down their immune system and they get more RIs, or it could be any number of things.
Now, do you think if that snake reproduced and they sold the babies, would you as a breeder feel responsible for saying, hey, the mother of this got a lot of RIs? Like,
no,
at that point it's not necessary.
I'm not sure if it's inheritable. I don't think it is inheritable.
Okay.
At least no one's done the research or done enough record keeping, or it hasn't been prevalent to where someone's noticed that.
But it's not breeder would share the parents' sickness history or whatever for a baby that they're selling.
No, because I don't think that
most things don't get past that way.
That may not be true, but I don't know. But just because your snake got an RI, I don't know. It just doesn't mean just because your mom got pneumonia, maybe.
Right. It doesn't mean you're good. Right.
So you would be freaking out for no reason, I think.
I don't know. In my head, it's the more you know is good. Like the more information you know is helpful. I mean, yeah, it may not be. What's the word that starts with the H?
Yeah, because the female corn snake that we had prolapsed doesn't mean that all of her babies are going to prolapse. That is nothing.
No, it's not a connection. Yeah. But I don't think it hurts to know it.
Sure, I'll tell people that, but it doesn't mean anything besides them freaking out whenever anything happens.
They would automatically think.
Which I think you're worse off overreacting with snakes than you are just kind of neglecting them to a certain degree, letting them do their thing, not fucking with them as much.
But definitely if you're selling an adult who has prolapse, you would say that.
Oh, especially prolapse, because you want to make sure, because the person getting adult is like, am I getting something that's going to be viable to breed? So that may affect its viability of breeding that prolapse. So
is there any other past sicknesses that you feel like a breeder should share?
Anything. I mean, anything if you're selling an adult. I mean, that would be good to know.
Okay.
Or you can be like, oh, she had an RI and she kicked it really quick back whenever. It's not a problem. But
just letting you know.
Right.
Okay. Lilypad said, why aren't snakes that are born with kinks paralyzed? Can a snake be paralyzed from a point of their body down? So they're weird. Oh.
So why would you do that?
Sorry.
Oh my God.
Sorry. There you go.
Oh wow, that was easy. So snakes that were born with kinks, I mean, paralyzed, just like a person who's born with like spina bifida is not paralyzed, right? Just because you have spinal deformities doesn't mean that you're not.
But it makes it harder to do things,
right? And that's evident in some babies with kinks.
Okay.
But I don't think I've seen.
Can a snake actually be paralyzed?
Well, they wouldn't come out of the egg if they're fully paralyzed, but.
Right.
But I've never seen one that was like limp for half of their body or anything like that.
I'm trying to imagine how that would look.
Maybe just because that would mess with other functions of the body and it wouldn't pass food or eat or something like that. Right, because it has to
go through its whole body.
So I just
think... like humans who are paralyzed from the waist down can still pass food.
Yeah.
So a snake would still be able to pass food.
That's assuming also paralyzed humans get a lot more help than paralyzed snakes.
Yes.
So I just think maybe there's a whole bunch of issues to where
it makes it just not a viable snake.
But I've never seen. I don't know, man.
I mean, I agree. It seems like it would affect so many other things than just it's slithering. All kind of things. Very interesting. 2 people asked about where you ship. Do you ship to Canada and do you ship to New York?
Not to Canada.
Why not to Canada? Is it too expensive?
Well, you just have to go through
laws.
Yeah. Which is just going to be way too expensive for snakes that I have.
Does Canada have strict laws?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, going international, you're going to have stricter laws, but it's going to cost, you probably got to, most people shipping to and from Canada, you want at least a few $1,000s worth of stuff to make it worth it to do the paperwork and everything.
Okay. And so, we're not selling a few $1,000s worth of stuff at this point.
No, but New York, yes.
Yes, of course, New York. Now, not this season, but next year/season, New York would be no problem. Yeah. And would you or will you go through ship your reptiles, SYR?
That's what I've done in the past. That's probably what I would do.
Is that the biggest shipping company?
It depends. It seems like certain parts of the different parts of the hobby like different things. So I know a lot of leopard gecko keepers used to do reptiles direct or whatever the other competitor is.
Okay.
But ball python people mostly did ship your reptiles, and then
Just
some other people.
Kind of what people got used to.
Right, yeah. For whatever reason, it seemed people were cool with a certain way of doing it, depending on what
that makes no sense, but okay. It's not like they cater to one. They all do the same thing.
Really. Yeah, so I mean, personally, I always did ship your reptiles, but just because they made it really easy and they put. But reptiles to use sounds pretty good, and it looks pretty good, and it looks like they have good quality stuff. So I don't know.
They made it easy in terms of like online, like the website and setting it up and everything.
Yeah, like things are very much laid out for you, exactly what to do and how to ensure your package and make sure everything's cool, and then ship out, all the materials that you need to label, so that you're in what did you call that? You're within the standard of
sizes and the amount, what you have to say on
the
it,
legality of it all, live reptile, that kind of stuff, the species, everything.
So you don't have to worry about putting that together yourself and possibly missing something and then it can't ship and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay, well that's very helpful. But then as a seller, do you always have to wait for it to get that before you can send it?
What do you mean? What?
To get all the stuff that they send you.
Well, what you want is you want to have insulated boxes before.
Already? Okay, you get that.
So you get all the shipping supplies before, and then you ship them out. And then all you have to do is print out papers and stuff like that. And then Ship Your Reptiles does, they provide, they have shipping packages that you can buy. So it will be like, ship a small animal. It will give you a deli cup, a small box, insulated box, and then with all the stuff that you need to market and do everything like that. So, and even heat and cool, a heat pack or a cool pack.
Oh, it sends it for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will literally give you everything. I mean, that's a little bit more expensive than finding sources to do it yourself. But
it makes it easier. Your time is valuable and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're shipping a lot, you just buy them in
bulk.
In bulk, yeah.
And it just makes it and just you have
them a little bit cheaper.
You have them stored and ready to go.
Yeah.
For when someone buys. That makes sense.
But I mean, that shipping stuff is expensive.
Oh, really?
And shipping's becoming really expensive. So
yes, shipping alone is ridiculous.
So like, I don't know,
but it's possible for it to go back down, right? Or do you think it's a thing that will continuously
that fluctuates just like everything else?
Right. Your mom said spray pan works. What is she talking about?
I think she means to put on the snakes, the oil.
Oh, okay. Instead of isn't Pam just
also
olive
it's
oil?
Really it's vegetable oil, but it's really confusing because some people call prevenamite Pam because it's prevent a mite.
Oh, but those are two different.
P-A-M,
but
or
then the
Pam,
other
like
Pam
oil. So I just call it prevenamite because that's way too confusing if you call it Pam.
Is it a spray
because
like
you
Pam?
can use Pam to
Okay.
They're both sprays.
But the Pam is for the snake and the prevenamite's for the tub, right?
Yeah, so you can't put prevenamite on the snake.
Right, and you wouldn't put the Pam in the tub.
Well, that would be disgusting.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. It's only for the snake. But it could kill, if there was mites in the tub, it could trap those too.
Yeah, I guess, but you're going to have your snake just
chilling in some oil, so this.
Or if you're keeping, depends on what substrate you're keeping too.
Does the prevenamite leave a residue in the tub or no? Like like Pam would.
Yeah, it is a little bit oily.
Okay, so.
And then it is a little chemical.
But you put the substrate on top of the prevenamite, so they're not touching it, And
then also, if you have substrate, you got to make sure that you throw it all out immediately, because mites are all up in there.
Definitely.
Everywhere. So you may even consider putting them on paper towels for a certain amount of time.
Oh, just to keep them
just to make sure, because paper towels are white, so you're going to see every time you have little black
also
dots.
If you're doing it multiple times, you don't want to keep throwing out the substrate. Like that is just so much to keep doing. Dorco said, I'm in the process of finding a good reptile vet in New York, and I know there's some in Long Island, but it's far. In case of emergency, can any vet do?
No, there's a lot of people who may even be certified to do reptiles, but they really don't know much. You really need to find, and I'm sure there's a bunch of good vets in New York. So
You should ask your friend Scott. Does he live in the city?
I'm trying to. What?
Isn't his name Scott, the one who you sold your ball
No.
pythons to? What's his name?
Steve.
Steve. I got the S part.
And he lives in Syracuse. That's nowhere close.
Okay. I knew he lived in the state of New York. I didn't know if he lived in the city too. Because doesn't Dorco live in the city?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's plenty of breeders down there in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So you may want to ask around or do some Google searching, or even, maybe there's a New York city reptile Facebook group and put it out on there and find a good one, because there's definitely good people out there. I don't know who they are, but
you wouldn't just want to go to any vet because they could mishandle or just all kind of different things.
Yeah, there's just too many factors. So I mean, there's plenty of exotic vets, but they may work more in birds, but they can do reptiles. But how often have they seen a certain animal,
right?
In comparison,
it doesn't happen
to, they may
often.
be expecting a corn snake when it's something totally different. So,
and even like we had an experience at the vet recently, which it seemed like they were knowledgeable, at least when the vet tech talked to us. He had snakes at his house. He knew it, but still the way they handled our snake, I felt like was not typical. I don't even know.
And it was just from a business standpoint, they were a shitty business. I mean,
okay.
They just weren't good on communications. They would go, 2 days without anything. But it was kind of a weird situation where her oviduct came out, and then so they amputated the oviduct. But even when it was back in, they gave me her back. A couple days later, it came out again,
and it wasn't like originally it was like this time. When it came out, it was a long huge piece
and I'm
that
like,
came out.
I'm not sure if that's even her oviduct anymore. If someone would have asked me, I would say she would have been dead in a day or two.
Because so much came out, and that was after the vet had tried giving her stitches, and it came out, and the vet then supposedly amputated and took off her oviduct. But there's just no.
But more of it came out. But
right.
And then that broke off. The weirdest thing.
It just fell off. And then was not attached to her body anymore.
Then she ate this week.
And she passed it?
I don't know yet. Not yet.
Okay.
But if that is her oviduct, then she should be fine.
But I've never anything an oviduct was this long.
I know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yes. But that shows you that's a vet who was knowledgeable about snakes but did not handle the situation correctly.
I don't know if they were even knowledgeable about snakes.
The vet tech owns snakes. He told us when he was talking to us.
Monitors.
Oh.
Well, and he's not the doctor anyway, but
he can tell the doctor what
he's not
to
the
do.
vet. I mean, but not many people besides very experienced people know to do with these kind of situations. It's not everyday care. I mean, they might be able to look at a snake and say, this is healthy, this is not healthy. But also they're coming from it from a different angle sometimes.
So what are some questions you want to ask a vet to give you a good feeling, I guess? Would you ask them, do you guys see, snakes very often? Are those questions you would ask them?
I just want to answer Vulcan God 6 on Instagram has been asking. So we just asked recommendations for starter reptiles. So for me, that's always a corn snake or a king snake. But you can always, as long as you do the research, you can keep almost any reptile if you're willing to spend enough money and enough time learning about them. So there's all different kinds of good starter reptiles.
But do a corn snake.
But a corn snake, rat snake, any type of North American colubrid will probably serve you a lot better to at least learn and get used to how to care for a snake. But okay, go on with the vets. So question, I don't know.
What are questions you ask the vet to make you feel comfortable about bringing your snake there?
I don't know. I think you got to do the legwork before you go in. Or sometimes when I bring in snakes that are not normal, they don't know what it is. So that's always kind of a bad sign. But then again, there's so many snakes out there that it's hard to know every one.
True.
But yeah, when they don't know when I had a green tree python and he called it a tree boa or whatever, that's not a very good sign. It's not the best sign, but it all worked out because I told him what to do.
Okay.
But,
So you were his vet tech essentially.
well, I just said this is what we got to do. Just put the stitches in.
I don't think
and we'll be
most would
good.
listen to what you say.
But if you think it's a tree boa, I think you can use.
He recognized that he was not the knowledgeable one in that situation.
Right, but
well, I would personally just ask the vet, how many, like, if you're bringing in a ball python, like ask, have y'all ever had a ball python before, or I don't know.
Yeah, but of course I've had a ball python before.
I don't know.
It's different when you're bringing in,
or if you're bringing in like a sand boa or something also, like that.
Do you see most of their job is my ball python isn't eating? What do I do? Like people bring it into the vet for that.
Not more high level
right
issues. Okay.
It's different when you get into reproduction and things like more. It's really easy to keep a snake. It's really easy to keep a snake alive. It's really easy to just in general keep a snake healthy, or at least what outwardly appears as healthy, until you start breeding them. That's when shit starts going wrong. It's easy to keep snakes, but it can be hard to keep them alive if you're not when you're breeding them, even if it has nothing to do with you.
It just there's more. It opens them It opens them up to more complications when you're breeding them.
Right.
Is that true of males and females, or more?
Most of the females, but you can still get males who prolapse hemipenes. They take out their hemipene and they can't get it back in. And then you can also, people, try to get males up to size and feed them a lot. I mean, you could have complications for that as far as how long they live. Maybe not an immediate response, but maybe how long they live. So instead of 20 years, maybe you're looking at shorter, a smaller amount.
Because you pump
and then also running them through a bunch of females. So yeah, I mean, there's best practices when breeding, and then there's also there's things that you can avoid happening, and then there's things that just seem unavoidable. like why did her oviduct come out? I don't know. Like maybe it was twisted. Maybe the vet didn't notice that it was twisted. But it's just something that happened. It was really just a random freak accident.
How old is she? Yeah.
I'm not sure. I've had her for like 4 years or so.
Okay.
And I've bred her twice. The first time was totally fine, and this year she was doing much better than before. And
so maybe it was too much.
She had no, because I gave her a year off. In the wild, they'd be producing eggs
right
every
away.
year,
yeah,
just because the environment would trigger them to do that. So I'm definitely not overbreeding her.
No. You were saying she did better. Like she produced more eggs this year, and so I'm saying maybe it's weird because she had more eggs produced, but maybe that somehow was too much for her body, which you would think would never produce more. Right? You would think her body would never produce more than she can handle. But think about with women get pregnant, have babies, and there's something happens, and they with adults, I don't. Your body makes the baby, and something happens. And you can mom can still die, even though she's, the mom's the one who made the baby.
Right. Yeah, but I don't think there's a correlation in between. I don't think it was that she made babies, I think.
Okay. So then what do you think it was?
Well, no, I mean, obviously if she didn't breach, that wouldn't have happened. But I don't think I'm not breeding her too much. So what am I supposed to do?
I don't know.
And she had 20 fertile eggs with 0 slugs, when 2 years ago she had 16 eggs with a couple slugs. So fertility was up, everything seemed good.
Then something happened,
and she kept on good body weight. That's another thing. After they have a clutch, do they have good body weight? Because they're probably, if they're corn snakes, they're going to double clutch if they have enough size.
So they need to keep up that weight.
Double clutch no matter what. So, and she was fine through all that, so it doesn't make any. I did everything I could to mitigate the risk, but sometimes
it just
happens. Have different plans. So
Joey said he used to have a snake that would not drink and was always flipping over. I've never seen that. A snake flipping
what
over.
kind of snake was it? I mean, most snakes you're not going to see them drink. So even if, I mean, there's no snake
I've
that
seen them
doesn't.
submerge themselves, but I've never really seen them drink.
Right. You'll be hard pressed to find a snake drink unless, I mean, corn snakes, I can see them drink every once in a while, and some carpet pythons, I see them drink. But for the, and then also some species are just not very, if it's a desert species, they're not going to get
They're
water
not used to that water.
Yeah, you may, or, oh, so it was a ball python. If it was flipping over, was it a spider gene? Because that's going to create neurological issues that are going to cause it to flip over. But yeah, ball pythons, I've never, you see them drink like once in a blue moon. Just keep on putting fresh water in there. And I mean, they're probably drinking, but not when you think they are. Also, snakes drink a lot less water or need a lot less water to survive than you would imagine as a human. They barely ever, because if you think a snake in the wild, that's barely even, depending on species, corn snakes are obviously going to move around a lot and they may be near a body of water. But ball pythons in termite mounds, when do they drink?
So for the desert snakes, do you put very little in the water? Do you put a small water bowl with them?
I personally don't, because I don't have anything that the only reason why I would do that is if they require very low humidity. So if they get too high humidity, they get in trouble. So I'd want less water in there just to make
for the
environment less humid. But for the most part, I just keep everything the same because it's a it's just a non-issue.
Just give them all the same amount of water.
But then if you go to hognose snakes, you may want to have a shorter water bowl just because they're not very agile.
It's hard. It would be hard for them to get to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want them to be able to access it, whether or not they drink, but have it there as an option, no matter what.
So it's possible to have too much water in the water bowl because it'll affect the humidity levels, right?
Yeah. So if you have a big bottle of water in something that is hot, even at room temperature in a confined space, you're going to get more humidity as the water evaporates. So
So is there like a specific amount of water? You just fill up the deli cup, though. You sound like there's a specific amount of water that's too much. You just look to see if it.
We're talking about minute
differences.
You're talking about if you want to keep a snake very low humidity, then go out of your way and do that. But but I don't know. Some people have said Kenyan sand boas you need to have small water bowls. I'm not sure. I've never had a Kenyan sand boa. And then he said it was a normal ball python. So maybe that snake just had neurological issues. So, I mean, you can still have a snake with neurological issues.
That's not a spider.
Yeah.
It can just happen once in a blue moon. Just interesting.
Because that's definitely not normal.
But the chance of it just being one out of the whole clutch, wouldn't another one have it too, or no?
I don't know. There's no saying.
There's no chance that hasn't, with all the genetics we know and stuff.
We don't know genetics past what we can visually see for the most part.
True.
This is going back to are they passing down?
You can see the flipping over.
Yeah, but that may be a temperature spike during incubation. So that's why that snake is wonky. It could be. That's why a lot of the weird birth defects and stuff we see is mostly from incubation spikes and things like that. I mean, during development in the egg, that's where you see these problems.
All those different things.
So while they're developing, it's a big thing for ball pythons to have smaller, lower jaws.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, which are just going to be random spikes in temperature and incubation. I mean, just different things. Just temperature is a big factor.
It controls so much in snakes and has such a big
incubating
effect on how they turn out or what they turn out with or what they show or don't show. Temperature can make a huge difference.
Yeah,
that's so weird.
Then Lilypad asks, why do snakes have a slit on the bottom of their head? I'm not confident in what she's alluding to.
I don't here, like Like here, is she talking about?
I'm not sure because I was thinking the bottom of the head. If it's
like here, oh,
if it's like the chin area, then that's just because they have two separate jaws that aren't connected like ours. So instead of being connected in the front, their jaw, at the chin, they have two separate jaws that can move so they can swallow prey.
Do they also have something at the bottom here? Because that's where you were thinking.
No.
Okay.
So that might be what she's
I'm
asking
assuming she means
and
like
just,
the chin.
there's going to be extra skin there, and there is like, it kind of flaps over because obviously when they eat, they're going to stretch it out to accommodate having prey that's bigger than their head.
So, and some can obviously stretch more than others because they eat bigger, the size, like ratio wise of prey. You know how we were talking about like the jungles, in the wild and what they will eat. Like, didn't you say like small kangaroos?
I mean, for the most part, they can all get pretty impressive sizes of prey down, but wouldn't
their chin area, jaw area need to stretch more?
Head shape and stuff like that seems to be conducive to getting down bigger prey. I mean, you have those giant,
so like
giant
vipers
muscular head.
Vipers obviously have a different head shape. Does that affects what they can eat?
No, I mean that is you're holding venom sacs in there.
Oh, so then what do you mean? What are you talking about? Different?
Meaning that like they're like carpet pythons in general have a head structure that's very, very muscular towards the back.
Okay.
So obviously allowing more powerful jaws and to hold on to prey and and then probably ultimately to move those jaws to get down big prey, but I don't know. That would be just.
So it's only carpet pythons that have all those
guessing.
muscles
no,
at the back?
No, I mean, there's snakes with all different kinds of head structures, but I don't know if that's
really why
but I'm sure
it helps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone knows if it helps or that's why they have bigger muscular heads like that. But
another thing that hasn't been researched.
Maybe someone knows out there
about that. I'm
but
sure
I don't know
some sort of head structure.
But colubrids have those little heads, and my colubrids tend to eat smaller meals more often in comparison to the pythons that have bigger meals more often. So, I mean, but also correlation isn't always, that's not always can be the determiner of just because the smaller head things eat smaller stuff, the bigger head things eat.
That's just us kind of guessing and making assumptions.
But you could assume, I guess.
What are this may be a dumb question, but like other than just for identifying, like what are the other reasons for like, a more rounded head or a more squared off type? Like what are the different reasons for the different shapes of the heads? Just
different behaviors. So as far as like burrowing.
Okay.
So you're going to see obviously on different snakes that burrow, you're going to see head structures
that can make it easier to do it.
Right.
Okay. So it's all connected to burrowing.
Nah, I mean, there's just different factors, right? You want to go through every little thing. You got to go. Snake looks like this because of that.
That's what I want to know. Yes.
Of that. Yeah, but I mean, you could give a specific example, and then I may say that might be why. I don't know 100%, but when you hear these things that, oh, this is why they do that, this, you're still drawing conclusions, and then
so there'd be no way to ever figure out exactly why. We're just making assumptions of what we've observed.
Right. So you're not a snake, so
I know.
So like black sunlight, and then people say also they seem to hide in shadowy like outcrops and stuff, so their head blends in. So what is it? Is it to absorb more sunshine because it's black, so they can heat up? They just poke their head out and heat up, or is it to keep camouflage under shadows?
We'll never know.
I don't know, but people say both. So like, we're just drawing conclusions on what we see.
That's all you can ever do.
That's all you can ever do, but who knows the
actual reason of why they're black.
Right.
Interesting.
And then you assume that everything that's black is trying to absorb more light.
Heat. Right.
Right. but is that necessarily true when there's black snakes that live in very,
That
very hot climates and
they
lighter
don't need
snakes
to,
that live in cold climates? There's always
if
going
they're in
to
a
be
hot area, they don't really need they're already
well, there's always going to be exceptions to every rule that you make. So because nature doesn't follow rules, we're just a bunch of humans trying to put rules and categorize and name things in nature. I mean, none of it matters. It's just humans
we need
trying
to have
categorize
some, but we need some
everything.
sort of at least attempt at categorizing. Can't just be a bunch of
It's all a science, right? Trying to figure out answers to questions. But usually answers to questions bring up more questions. So you're never going to end up with questions. You know, you're never going to
get to a final point. It's going to bring up more.
Always. But LilyPad said, are venomous snakes immune to their venom?
Or to other snakes' venom.
So yes, they are immune to their venom. If you've seen a bunch of snakes will bite themselves by accident, and venomous snakes will bite themselves, by accident.
Their venom.
So, and then also keep in mind, like a king snake, a lot of their prey is going to be other snakes, and then in their range where they're found, a lot of them are eating venomous snakes. So it seems that snakes also, especially king snakes, are going to be immune to the snake's venom,
even if it's the other venom. Even if it's the other type. The venom is either gonna, there's like the different
neurotoxics. So it doesn't seem to matter. Then there's mixes of both. And
I've never seen that. What one has a mix?
So the Mojaves, they think that, and again, this is a correlation.
Just a guess.
So there's a guess. So they're having ground squirrels that are envenomated by Mojave rattlesnakes, and saying that the squirrels are becoming immunized to, or immune to.
What word did you just say?
I don't know why I use that.
Immunized.
Okay. They're becoming immune to the venom of the rattlesnake. So they're saying that they're actually evolving in order to take down their prey, which is going to be the ground squirrel. And the ground squirrel is biologically changing to somehow become immune to the Mojave venom.
Isn't that like how what people are trying to do when they self-envenomate themselves?
A different story, because this is happening generally throughout generations of ground squirrels. You're not slowly, the ground squirrels aren't slowly being bit and say, just give me a little bit this time. And then
sorry, it's okay. It's over time. So it's not within one squirrel. It's changing. It's over time.
The squirrels that live are the ones who are more fit to
fight against it.
Fight against the Mojave rattlesnake. So, and then that's also, like I said, a correlation that doesn't seem to make too much sense, because how is that happening? But
they're just building up they're building up the immunity.
Yeah, but how? They're not self-evident.
Like we build up an immunity to, like, when we get the vaccine.
Yeah, but they're not getting the vaccine.
Oh, they're getting the venom.
Meaning,
but isn't the vaccine
the ones that pass on, the ones that are able to breed are the ones that weren't killed.
Right, but
what about the ones who haven't encountered the rattlesnake at all?
But the ones you bred that got the venom.
Yeah.
That's like when we get the vaccine, it's a little bit of the disease.
Right. So what kind of spontaneous genetic mutation,
like something had to happen like right then to be able to survive?
Well, it could be a weird genetic mutation to where
they're immune.
But
what's special about that one squirrel? Right. That one or two squirrels who got lucky to survive it. Whoa.
But and then you're seeing them, the Mojave toxin changing from most of those pit vipers are going to be hemotoxic. I think all the rattlesnakes besides the Mojave is going to be hemotoxic.
So is it changing since the prey is changing?
To be both. And neurotoxic. So neurotoxic is usually found in elapids, which is going to be like cobras.
Okay, you're using so much vocabulary that my brain can't process that fast.
And then, as a generality, most pit vipers are going to have hemotoxins.
Okay.
So it's all of a sudden the Mojave has a little bit of both.
So that it can kill a wider.
That's what they think.
Like even those grounds
be more effective,
right, in the killing of the prey.
Of anything.
Which would make of anything, because to make it so that you have double defense or double, I guess, armory to kill whatever you're doing to have both.
You have better ammo,
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
When did they start doing these?
So they started they noticed in snake bites of people that Mojave crowfab, which you usually use for most rattlesnake bites, it's going to be the anti-venom that's used when you're bitten by most Crotalus. So Crotalus is going to be the genus of rattlesnakes.
English, please.
So most of the Crotalus genus, you're going to use crowfab in order to counter the bite.
Yes. Okay.
So crowfab's not working for
the Mojave because they have both.
Right. So you need to have a different separate product for the Mojave toxin, but I'm not 100% sure. So I don't really know. There is a documentary, I think, somewhere on Discovery about the Venom Doctor or whatever. I forget what his name, Sean something in like Southern California, about him treating snake bites, and then in Southern California there's Mojave rattlesnakes. So he had direct access to the stuff. Right. So he's the foremost expert on treating snake bites there. So he's the one who's, treating these Mojave bites and stuff like that. So yeah, it's interesting. But their venom's changing for no apparent reason. We can't figure out why. How the fuck do they decide that? What is making that happen? Just have they tried it on anything else other than squirrels? Well, whatever they eat in the wild, but that's what they observed is squirrels. So going on. How long those whatever special squirrels that have what we're assuming is a mutation, the venom, and why no humans? Well, we've never tried it. I don't think it's that advantageous for us to be immune to venom, because so little of we have so many factors that will kill us, to when the ground squirrel may be, a hawk, a snake, and then maybe there's not too many, other things that can kill it. So, but we make our own threats also. Yeah, I mean, we are way out of the realm of natural selection, so we are way past being killed by being in the food chain and shit. We pretty much do our own thing, right? We make our own. We just kill ourselves because we're unhappy and stuff. But oh no, what? No, that's not. Well, no, every vice that exists is because humans aren't. Yeah, but there's other things like car accidents, all that stuff. Yeah, we're all killing ourselves. Okay. When you said kill ourselves, I thought you meant drink and do drugs and do anything else. We're going so far off. Lilybet asked, what's the difference between a boa and a python? If you want to be really, really general and lump them both up real quick, it's going to be that boas are viviparous, which is going to be they lay live young, and pythons lay eggs. Yes. Very separation. General, because maybe there's exceptions. I can't think of any. And for the most part, also generality, you're going to have pythons are going to be mostly in the good crack. Always a good voice crack. Are going to be more in the old world, and boas are going to be more in the new world. But there's exceptions to that. So in North America, we have rubber boas and all that other stuff. But also, it goes back to scientists wanting to lump everything in categories. So, so we want everything to have a name and have a place, which makes sense. But you look at some things and it's like these things are definitely not related, but
Also,
science
it
says they are.
changes,
But
which
now
is
there's
weird.
DNA,
You know, as far as like the lumpings in the categories, they change over
always
time.
changing. But I mean, now we have DNA sequencing, so there's different. There are standards, you know. So this is the amount of variance that is seen in a genus. This is the amount of variance that's seen in a species. This is the amount of variance. But then we get to like the family of colubrids.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's everything's a fucking colubrid. It's why a hognose with a rostral scale that's upturned and has rear fangs is the same snake or any
has
rat
neither
snake.
of those things.
Neither, they don't look anything alike.
Mm-hmm.
There's no similarities really to them. They're totally different size, structure,
So
everything.
they shouldn't both
but
be
they're
considered
in
colubrids.
the same family. And you know, pythons, you look at them and they all seem related, right? Boas, you can probably for the most part say that that's a boa. But colubrids, I couldn't fucking tell you. And then you get to some of the elapids in Australia, and they look like our colubrids here.
Remind me what elapid means again.
So it's going to be a venomous. It's a venomous family of snakes. So there's going to be elapids and pit vipers.
Well, that's super general. Just saying they're venomous.
But that is the distinct difference between the elapids and then some of the. But we have rear fang venomous colubrids here, and a whole lot in New Guinea and in Asia.
So why aren't those?
They're just as close to elapids as they may be
to
a
other
corn
colubrids?
snake.
Okay.
So it's where do we draw this line, and why do we draw this line, and have we just lumped everything together because it's convenient?
Because it gets too much.
Yeah. So should there be different families for rear fang venomous things?
I think you can't have something that's rear fanged and not like you can't have them in the same family. Like rear fanged is a big distinction to me. That really, it's not just like having, I don't know, an eye that looks different or whatever. Like rear fangs are, I feel like it's a huge distinction. You couldn't put something that's rear fanged, something that's not in the same family.
And then there's also someone like Brian Fry who thinks that probably every snake is venomous. So just like every spider's venomous, but it depends on delivery systems and how to use it. He thinks that maybe every snake is venomous, and certainly a garter snake's venomous, but there's no proper delivery system in order to make them dangerous to us.
So they have venom cells, but they can't get it out?
And I think they have rear fangs. I'm not 100% sure. I forget exactly what he said about that, but I think they have rear fangs technically.
So then why wouldn't they be able?
I'm not sure. But he's the one who found out that Komodo dragons have venom instead of bacteria
inside of them, but they don't have like sacs.
Yeah, but they do. They do have venom sacs.
But if a Komodo dragon bites you, you're not gonna get venom in you.
Yes, you will, and you'll die.
Oh.
Yeah, but they thought that it was some bacteria that killed you from infection over, a few days or something. Like that's how they were killing their prey. Well, doesn't that conveniently sound a lot like venom. To where venom's coursing through your body? So,
it just seems crazy to me to think that all snakes are venomous.
But it's certainly possible.
But when we look at a dead snake, wouldn't we see that? Like, we looked at many of dead snakes. You would see that,
especially if you're looking at something like a ball python. But
you'd be able to dissect it and see it somewhere. Just because the delivery system isn't there, you'd still be able to see the venom when you dissect it, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm just taking the opinion of a person who has studied venom more than anyone else in the world.
So way more knowledgeable than me.
Yeah, like I don't have to explain his point. So,
okay, but question. So you said all spiders are venomous, which I did not know. So when you like dissect a spider, every single spider,
man. But yeah, I guess that's what science concluded, right?
Let's go dissect
They
some
certainly
spiders.
know, but and they're certainly much smaller, so it must be much harder to
see
find that
it.
out. But you know how they say like daddy long legs are the most venomous, but they don't have any way to bite you. I don't know if that's true, but
I've never heard that.
yeah, but I think
But aren't daddy long legs good for like you're not supposed to kill
they
them?
eat shit. Then everything eats shit, right? So I don't know. Everything kills other things that you don't like. Everything that you don't like kills things that you don't like, and because everything eats itself.
I want to know what the rest of the world thinks about this.
About what? The venom?
About
thing?
every snake being venomous. We have 8 people watching. Oh, that was really loud. We have 8 people watching. What do y'all think? Do you think it's possible that I think you could. That's bullshit. I think you could say it's certainly possible for all squirrels to be venomous, and they can't. Like you can't just say that. That's such a bullshit line to just say it's possible for all. It's possible for everything. It's possible for fucking leprechauns to exist.
But I think he wants to go snake by snake and find it in all these snakes.
I would be very interested. He should do that. Why has he not done it yet?
There's 4,000 species of snakes.
How many has he done it on?
I don't know. He's too busy. Like he's been bit a bunch of times and almost died. So,
but you could do it on all dead snakes.
Research.
You can do it on all dead snakes.
Yeah, for sure. All I'm saying is that I trust his opinion more than
me,
yours, or my own. But I mean, if that's what he's trying to prove, then give him a chance to try to prove it.
Well, he shouldn't say it before he proves it. I guess that's his hypothesis.
Right. So you gotta have some question or thing that you want to prove in order to do this whole science thing, right? But like I said, he's the #1 venom.
I wonder being. What the guy in California thinks. Venom doctor in California. I wonder what he thinks, because he would be yeah, because that's possible. I would feel like he would also have an equally valid judgment on that hypothesis.
Yeah, and that's also a good point. Lilypad said, "What is the definition of venom?" So I guess venom would be something that could be injected, that needs to be injected into your body
to kill you.
Well, not to kill you, but to create some type of reaction. I'm not sure what that would be.
But you can't just say some type of reaction, because injecting steroids into your body forms a reaction, and steroids aren't venom.
No, but they do create a response in the body, right? That may, just like so many other things, maybe it's your reaction to that makes the body stronger, because it's something like alcohol. You're poisoning yourself. You know, it's poison. That's why you feel weird. So it's changing your body, and it's technically poison, I guess. But venom, obviously, you need to have an injection in your bloodstream in order to feel the effects of it. But
is a factor of venom, like, does all snake venom affect everyone who's not, like, every being in this earth who's not, who can't, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
I don't know.
Who's not, what's the word when you can't be affected by something?
Immune.
Yes. Every animal in the world who's not immune to venom, do they all react to it the same? To snake venom.
Everything reacts to everything different. Every human reacts to venom differently.
I thought there's only the 2 ways that they react.
Right, but the degree that happens, and
but it's still generally based that.
Still happen in whoever.
So, but snake venom in other animals is showed differently than it is in humans.
Well, if you're putting it depends on dosage, and not everything's studied, and different animals. I mean, they do studies of the lethal dose to kill 50% of the population, which is done in mice.
But see, to me, that makes it hard to make a definition of venom if it affects different animals.
Well, that's why I'm saying it just has an effect, right? A negative impact on
to some degree, to whatever
what
degree.
Does that mean? There's definitely a definition to it. I sure as hell don't know it though.
Lilypad said maybe he considers some things venom instead of bacteria.
Well, like would be like they thought in the Komodo dragon. So the distinction there is that they have it. Bacteria would be something that's extrinsic to the situation. It would be like an outside source.
Like
it wouldn't be like the Komodo dragon stores bacteria in its
like
chin.
it catches something and passes it on to you. Is that bacteria? Like it catches something,
Well, there's bacteria everywhere, right? And if they happen to live inside the Komodo dragon, that's much different than storing it up. They wouldn't be born with stored bacteria in there.
It just got it over life, and it can.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're way over our head on this.
Oh, we need to learn more about venom.
We need to we can buy Brian Fry's book.
Okay, you can read
Venom
that.
and its Toxins. It's like a textbook. It's like a college textbook. So he reads textbooks. God damn it, he's fucking.
He knows his
He
shit.
must know something.
I wanna ask our Instagram followers what they think on this.
On what? Venom?
Do they think every single? Oh, I got the definition. A toxic substance produced by some animals, such as snakes, scorpions, or bees, that is injected into prey or an enemy chiefly by biting or stinging and has an injurious or lethal effect.
So basically, it just has a negative effect.
But it's interesting that it says chiefly by biting, or stinging. So it can.
Well, it needs to be injected. That's the main part.
Mm-hmm.
It means that a poison, obviously, you can just swallow and die, or it affects you by swallowing. Venom needs to be injected into your bloodstream.
And the only two ways it could be injected is by biting or stinging.
Right.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But it's the.
But it's more
that
doesn't go into like body of how you make the. You know what I mean? How you make the so-called venom, or what effect, or what it looks like, the liquid. Like
what the liquid?
What I'm saying?
Venom is made up of different proteins. So like Brian Fry is currently taking a lot of the venoms and finding out which proteins make these venoms.
Okay.
So maybe, I believe it happened in copperhead venom. They said this is the protein that causes tissue destruction.
In humans.
Right. So, and this protein, actually, we can get this to destruct cancer cells, but not affect the whole rest of the body. So they said this protein can actually be used
in a positive
way to treat breast cancer.
Wow.
Instead of, the necrosis and everything that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. They can isolate it just to those cancer cells.
To different proteins that may be advantageous to use in medicine. So venom's always going to be a series of proteins.
So venom could be a good thing one day if we find.
Well, it is a good thing. It's already used. I think there's some type of like blood pressure medication or something that uses the property of venom, because some of the hemotoxins will make you bleed out and then also thin your blood out.
And you need blood. Some people need blood thinners.
So blood thinners, I believe there's a kind of blood thinner that's been taken from like water moccasin venom or, some pit viper's venom to help and aid in, thinning the blood, or else, they're not injecting venom, but they're taking that protein and maybe synthesizing that and making it into. So there's maybe a lot of different ways we could use venom and use it.
Maybe if all snakes are venomous, it's a good thing. But it's like, I just don't know how we wouldn't be able to see it. I don't know. I'm hungry. In my head, venom is a liquid thing.
We're gonna have to buy the book.
But
it's a
do you understand what I'm saying?
But
in my head, venom is a liquid thing. If it's injected, it's a liquid thing. So why, when you cut open every single snake, would you not see venom in there somewhere?
I don't know, man.
That makes, if every snake is venomous, in my head, you would have to see it.
Obviously, there's a reason why 1 and 1 doesn't equal 2.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
But if we did research, we would know. But we don't really do research, do we?
It's above my pay grade. But thanks, everyone.
I should buy that book.
Should buy that book. Everyone else should buy that book.
It's like,
what's it called
just
again?
Like all other textbooks, it's like $1 million.
Oh, and what's it called again?
Venom and its Toxins by
Venom
Brian
and
Greg
its
Fry.
Toxins by Brian Greg Fry.
So someone can gift it to us. Please visit our Patreon page to send us a Venom book.
A Venom book.
So that we don't
Maybe we
seem
can get
as
like
stupid.
Kindle version for cheap. But
I can't do Kindle. I need like the actual page. Plus, there's like good pictures and stuff, and
okay,
need
Grandpa.
a full tablet experience if that would be the
Okay,
case.
okay. Let's end this.
Yeah, this is it.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Great conversations about Venom.
You know what? The recap, they already listened to it. Well, what you're supposed to say at the end is, please visit us at Port City Pythons on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, website, portcitypythons.com. But I'd rather you go.
But it's been updated.
It's been updated,
It's
but
been
I'd still rather you like hang out with us on Instagram.
Hang
or
out with
YouTube,
us.
or like listen to it live on YouTube.
But the website has been updated. That's an important
Right.
thing to say.
And hit me up for all my available animals, which is 0, and we still have eggs that haven't hatched, and I probably won't even sell those. So
Yeah, thanks anyway. Okay.
Thanks for listening. Catch you next week.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.